oh boy, definitely be out of its range. And it just blows up and spawns all of these skeletons. I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is All the Mods 10 Aeronautics. Now, if I plan on making even more crazy contraptions with Aeronautics, we are going to need significantly more wool. And one of the many ways we can get a ton of wool is, believe it or not, a mob farm, as spiders drop string and it builds up quite quickly. So today, that is exactly what I want to get set up, or at least one of the many things, as we start to work on the expansion. And I've added a little stairway here to lead me up to a new level so we can have a mob farm going up top. Before we can actually make a mob farm, we do have to venture a little deeper into the Nether. And we're going to have to take on some blazes and maybe even potentially nab a blaze spawner. I mean, a blaze spawner would be very, very helpful. I mean, a lot of mods require blaze rods. I mean, it's kind of a gating mechanic for a lot of mods. But on top of that, Create also gates things with a blaze spawner. So getting our hands on the ability to make some blaze burners wouldn't be bad. But here's the thing, spawners in all the mods now has been changed quite a bit, and it's across every mod pack that has Apotheosis in it. Apotheosis overall has completely reworked their spawner system. And what they've done is they've gated the upgrades behind specific items that are required in order for you to actually upgrade them, instead of just using regular vanilla items. And so unfortunately, we can't just walk up to a spawner and just smack it to be able to stop it with a comparator. Yeah, you have to have a very special upgrade item now for that. And these special items, by the way, from Apotheosis are called spawner runes. These are the things that you're going to use to create these upgrades. And these runes, they require spawner chains. And also gem dust, and something you should be familiar with at this point, gem-infused slates. All of this requiring gem dust. And gem dust, if you didn't know, is Apotheosis gems being smashed with an anvil. And as you can see here, I don't have a whole lot of gems. But that might change after we get a basic mob farm up and running. Now, spawner chains, on the other hand, well, this one is pretty clear. Obtained from the explosive detonation of a mob spawner. Yeah, that's right. We have to blow up mob spawners, and they don't just blow up. They blow up. And when they do blow up, hopefully they will drop a set of chains. Now, before we do any type of Apotheosis mob spawner work or anything like that, we really want a regular just mob farm. So to be able to make this mob farm, I do want a couple of tools that are going to help us sort of handle this farm. One being the experience holder from Just Dire Things, and this is what is going to require us to sort of go into the Nether. And we're going to have to hit up a fortress because we need Blaze Bloom goo in order to actually make these materials. So I think it's time to upgrade some of our gear if we're going to be hitting up the Nether here. And so I'm going to make some osmium gear, just a chest piece, and I'm going to leave my boots out. So we now have a full set of osmium gear, which is better than diamond. And you know what? Because we have the umbrella, we don't really need the slime boots if we're going to be going into combat. So I'm actually going to swap these out, and we'll only use these for emergencies. Now, once we get in there, I do want to grab a blaze spawner because it's going to be very useful for a lot of applications, not only upgrading it later on, but we're going to need it for things like I said, create. And there's a couple of ways we can pick it up. We could pick it up with a cart contraption, but I think that is kind of dangerous. Or we could pick it up with a silk touch tool. And would you believe me if I told you that modern industrialization makes this actually an easy process? Yes, we just need to craft ourselves up a steam mining drill, which by default has silk touch on it. The worst part about this whole recipe is just making the copper drill head, which essentially hits you with micro crafting that would come from this mod. And you can see right here, the tool rods, all of this stuff we can craft, but we can also make most of these components directly inside of the forge. And if we use the hammer here, well, that makes it kind of easy to grab all the components out. But here we go. Bam! Everything needed to be able to craft this awesome steam mining drill. So now, how does this tool work? Well, first thing we're going to need to do is have a water bucket inside of our inventory, and that is going to keep it constantly filled with water. Thankfully, it feeds itself water from a water bucket, and it doesn't use it or anything like that. But we do need to right-click coal to put coal in its inventory. And then we can shift right-click to enable or disable silk touch. This is so good. And on top of all of that, what makes this tool incredibly powerful is the fact that it also can mine out a 3x3, or it can mine out a single block if we hold down shift, and you can also change the mode. And by default, the key to change its 3x3 mining mode is Y, so you can just set it to a single block, which I prefer, or Y whenever you want to do a 3x3. I mean, just look at this. We mine that, it's incredibly fast too, so this is an incredibly fast early game starting tool that is fantastic. Like, I mean, besides all of the other MI stuff, like these things, this is why I said having MI in here is kind of nice. Also, by the way, when I'm saying MI, I'm referring to the mod that is called Modern Industrialization, which is kind of like a IC2 or Greg Techie style mod. You know, the mods where you build like a multi-block EBF and things like that. Electronic blast furnace. Yeah, those things. And you like to use steam for power and all kinds of other fun stuff. And you know what? Since I have myself the Silk Touch to be able to pick up spawners, I also want to make myself an Osmium sword that's just going to help me out when taking things out, and this is also better than a diamond sword. So now we have a super combo. I can put the umbrella in my offhand. I have my sword. The umbrella also has a special ability where it works like a shield, and while it's in my offhand, I don't have to worry about taking fall damage. So this should be very, very cool. Now we just gotta be careful once we're in the Nether here. I don't want to lose, let's get this guy out of here. I don't want to lose my levels, and right over here, we should have, yes, a fortress. Oh boy, but it is definitely up there, and we do have a gap that we have to mine. I think I can get this by jumping and gliding. Oh, this is so good. Please give me something. Okay, something sacrifice. We'll have to look at this. I'm kind of in a rush just grabbing some of these items. But we got nether wart. And you know what? I'm pretty happy about that. The spawner is right there. And it'd be really nice if I could just get it without needing to deal with these wither skeletons. And I think my rabbit boots might make this possible. Oh wait, there's a stairwell that just leads right up to it. We did get hit with the wither effect though. Oh no, it's just a blaze. It's unfortunately not what I thought it was. I do need to pop down here though and heal. I don't have a whole lot on me, but yeah, this should work. This should fend off blazes, I think. The umbrella? I think it can take up to 4 or 5 hits. Please drop a blaze rod. That'd be really handy right now. And we did. We got a blaze rod on the first drop. Okay. Now, finding a spawner. I thought there would be one right there, but it doesn't appear to be. And that looks like there used to be a spawner there. I'm just going to continue my way over here. There's a lot of wither skeletons everywhere. Just kind of terrifying. Like, but we may get really lucky. Oh, or get shot in the face with the heat-seeking arrow. Oh, and this gets put on cooldown. No. Oh my goodness. We're going to totally die. Totally die. The umbrella was a bad idea. We need a regular shield. 100% I need a regular shield. Or I'm just going to run. I'm going to run, and I'm going to hope we find it. And if we can find the spawner, I am just going to slash home and get myself out of here. Or it might be even better placing a waystone down in here so we can actually do this. But, oh man, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take the fall. There might be good loot in here. I never know. I mean, this is not bad. I mean, the fact that the wither skeletons have arrows that shoot you is very, very difficult. I mean, I am very undergeared for this, and oh, there's a spawner. Okay, I'm going to rush it. I'm going as fast as I can. We have Silk Touch, and I just got the spawner. That's all we needed. I will stick around just to try and take these guys out, and maybe get a couple of extra blaze rods. Oh my goodness, what are you? Okay. And we're going home. Oh, I don't know what that was, but I didn't want to stay and ask questions. All that matters is I managed to get this blaze spawner and I was out of there. Now back over here where my mob spawner is going to go, I am going to need several more blaze rods, so we are going to have to create a somewhat of a semblance of a farm, but we can do this quite easily. So we can actually redstone control this blaze spawner, and we can place a cart assembler, place a blaze spawner on top, make sure we have a lever down here, and we can use this to turn the spawner off for right now, simply because they made the turn off feature kind of expensive from Apotheosis. But you can do the same thing with create with just this small little contraption. And anytime I want these guys to spawn some blazes, well, I can just leave it activated. And there we go. Hop on in and try my hand at taking these guys out. Since we found ourselves some wart, I'm going to place this over here, and we can place some soul sand, I believe. And this should be able to also farm some wart for us passively. As far as the blaze rods go, I'm going to throw them in here because we do get bonuses by using a sag mill. Thankfully, with all of the nether stuff we just did, I can make some primal goo. And then immediately upgrade said primal goo into blaze bloom goo. And this is where we can charge it up with, hopefully we have one by now. Yes, we can charge it up with some nether wart, and I can place it down on the ground here, click this onto it to feed it, and then this is going to start to consume these blocks and convert the blocks, which is exactly what we want it to do, because this is how I'm going to make the XP holder, and it'll be so nice to be able to store my levels and not have to worry about them disappearing when I die. Yeah, which would be kind of bad with 50 something levels. Like, that's a lot of levels to just lose. And most of these, by the way, have just came from the quests. So anytime we have completed anything, we've done that. But by the way, we got a bounty here. We got so many nice things. Also the dire book. So if you're wondering how to use just dire things, this guidebook is very, very helpful for that. I'm going to be going over, though, most of the things throughout this series as we continue on. But it's almost done converting. And as soon as this fills the entire thing, we will have the item we want. Now, I don't believe fortune works. Yeah, as far as I know, fortune does not affect this in any way. Like, I've asked Dire and all that stuff, looked at the actual, the GitHub code repository for this, nothing. So don't worry about silk touching it, or sorry, not silk touching, but fortuning it. Silk touching, on the other hand, might be the case depending on the mod pack, and depending on if they added any recipes for processing this stuff. Doesn't look like it. So don't worry about anything, just break it with whatever pick you have, besides silk touch, and you get this raw gold. And then we throw this over here to be smelted down into blaze gold ingots. With the use of a couple of books and an ender pearl, I now have an experience holder, which makes me so happy. Now, I also want to convert over some regular iron blocks, and this is going to work the exact same way. However, I have enough iron here to be able to get this whole thing covered. So I'm going to cover the entire thing, click it with the wart, and let this all convert. And this is going to produce the things that we're going to need for the item collector. Good old fairy core. This is always so satisfying too to watch, especially when it hits that final conversion and everything kind of pops all at once. It's good. And the automation for this is even more satisfying. Beautiful. And there we go. The best item collector, I think, in the game. Well, kind of. We also have Zycraft in here, which has a really nice item pickup method too. Definitely don't overlook the Zycraft collector, which kind of picks up items before they even turn into item entities in the world. It's kind of wild. Well, let's place down this XP holder, and then I am going to store my levels in here. And all of them are now stored, and this can not only store your levels and allow you to pull them out upon demand, as you can see down here, but you can also collect from within the world, which is another awesome thing than the reason why I actually want this. But I also want this because this is how we're going to get some XP fluid that is going to allow us to craft some dirt that can spawn mobs very quickly. What I'm going to craft here is some GM chicken feed. This is going to use those XP fluid buckets, a little bit of mob drops, so you will have to have taken out some mobs, and we'll get ourselves some GM chicken feed. And I mean, what's the worst thing that we could do with this stuff? I mean, like explode a chicken or something? This is such a classic thing, and at this point, I feel like everybody in the modded community knows about this particular thing. Also, is that a shiny cow? What does that mean? It's just like it's an actual shiny... What? Okay, my adventure was looking for a chicken, but now my entire thing has been changed to must get cow back to base. Hold on, I need you to get into the boat. So we push cow into boat, and we should have the jumpy boat. Yes, which allows us to jump onto land off of water. This might be able to work. I just gotta get back to the waystone. By the way, look at the jumpy boat. If you time it correctly, I think you can get up to blocks or get up blocks, if I'm not mistaken. You have to time it just right, I think. Or maybe it's only up slabs. Yeah, I think it's slabs. This is such a cool mechanic. I mean, we could definitely make some leads and probably come back, but I just want to jump in a boat. I have almost made it, and we have a shiny cow. There's just an entire mod in here just for adding shiny variants of mobs. We should be able to take this back home with us, by the way, by being in a boat and teleporting the boat with us. maybe not, actually. Wait, what? Maybe they just changed how waystones work. So let's head back ourselves to the docks. And there is a mob capture tool that we could technically make that might also work. Ooh, but this does cost blaze gold. I think I have enough. Okay, so yes, we made a creature capture. So let's head back to ground level. And then I've got to get this guy out of the boat without harming him. And then I can catch it. I now have a shiny cow in a jar? This is getting odd. But yeah, this guy is going to have a seat right here. I just need to throw the creature catcher, get him near the seat, and perfect. We have a shiny cow. Now about those chickens. Yes. Perfect. No chickens were harmed in the making of this video, except that one. That one definitely was harmed. And this chicken is just going to have a little seat, because I thought, you know, might as well just bring a chicken over here, and we could probably have this set on a seat forever and produce eggs. I mean, it's technically free range. Like, if it wanted to leave the seat, it would, but it's just so comfy. After turning the base into a zoo, let's actually start focusing on getting this mob farm up and running. Now, welcome to my mob farm tutorial, kind of. Because this, I don't think, gets any more straightforward than this. This is a very compact, simplistic farm that I made a long time ago. I think I made this when I was doing Project Architect 2. And I realized that you could optimize this farm quite quickly. And I've used several different methods for how we could do stuff like this. But cog blocks from supplementaries allows us to provide a tick to our machines. And we can use an RF Tools timer and set this to 2 ticks instead of its default 20, which is what it's currently at. And that should be able to tick quite quickly. Actually, we probably would set this to 4. We might actually need to move this back and use a comparator. No, that seems to be working right there. Perfectly. And 2 ticks is also working. So essentially what we have is this being pulsed incredibly quick. And the best way to describe this is whenever we use this rotten egg, it's going to create dreadful dirt. And one of the mechanics of dreadful dirt is when it is ticked via something like redstone, it will cause mobs to spawn quicker. And so using this in a foundation for a mob farm, we can make a farm that is quite small. So a 3x3 is going to be more than enough and is going to create tons of items for us early game. Now hold up, I don't want to place this rotten egg just yet because there's several other things that we're going to need to get in place. For example, we want to know where our mobs are going to be killed. For example, I kind of want them to go into a mob masher that is kind of right here. And this is going to be perfect size for this, allowing us to also power it. And the mob masher being sideways makes this possible. But this also means we need fans. So the fans are going to blow, and by default, their regular area, well, is only going to be a few blocks long. I think this can go up to 5 blocks, but because there's a thing in the way, it is technically blocking it from moving. But this is perfect. So a mob will get pushed over here, or this fan back here, once we put some range upgrades in it. We also need one more range upgrade. But this is going to push it here or push it all the way over here, which should slam it right into the mob masher. Now we also want to be able to turn this farm on and off, and thankfully this can be light controlled. Which makes this so much nicer. So we can use something like a redstone lamp right here, and we can add some regular redstone that is going to run through here. Let's see if I can get up here to be able to break this. I might be able to walk through here, but we can run a regular redstone line all the way to this directly on top and just simply power it on with a chain of redstone. So just to show this, I'm going to use a basic lever from the redstone pin mod, and you can see that this does power that on. Now, if I want to be able to see what's inside this mob farm, I can get kind of fancy with it and use a lapis lamp. This is from Utilitarian, and this just provides client-side light and is not actually going to light the farm. So that way we can light this up so we can see the things going on in here, even if it's not actually dark in here. I mean, it's kind of a cool mechanic. And it also is going to use a redstone chain. So there we go. We have client light inside the room, but it would still allow mobs to spawn. Because this mob room is so small, I can just use regular levers to be able to power these fans on. And now we have everything up and running, and technically the crusher can receive a redstone signal from the back. Now we just need to enclose it to be able to make it perfectly dark. And to do this, I'm going to use some tinted glass. Tinted glass is pretty awesome. It's wither resistant and also doesn't let light in and has a really nice look to it, in my opinion, compared to like the vanilla version. This right here is the basics of the mob farm. Everything else is going to be handling the logistics of everything moving around, and also I kind of want to decorate this. So I think this looks pretty darn good. I've got most of this set up. I just replaced all of the walls and replaced this with some smooth stone on the top, and replace the floor to kind of match the same pattern that we were going with over here, just to kind of look like a weathered like section that we're walking in a lot. So overall, just some stripped logs, which may be a bad idea if we did have to worry about fire protection, but thankfully in our claimed areas, we don't have to worry about things particularly burning. We just have to make sure that these said areas are actively claimed. So we're almost ready to place the rotten egg, but before we do, there is a couple of other things that we should probably do first. And that's going to be setting up the item collectors. So we want to display where this is going, and then we can start to manipulate. Now, to be able to see this clear, you can do Control and O to be able to remove JEI, which makes the seeing of this a little bit better. I wish this was a little bit more transparent inside of the GUI here, but all we have to do is start to manipulate this and move it around. Let's actually keep it a singular size here, and we will get that positioned here, and then we can lower it and then also start to move it forward and backwards. And we can come out of the inventory here, and we want this to be like centered into the middle of the room. So right about there, that seems perfect. And then we'll drop it down on the Y one and start to expand. So we want to take this and make it, I believe, fit the entire room, which is going to be 2. And then I like to bring this up just a little bit just to catch any items that may end up on top of the mob masher, and also XP that may end up on the mob masher. Speaking of XP, after I remove this, this is how we're going to manage that. It's the exact same method. The only difference with the XP holder is we want to make sure we have collect experience turned on. And then also by default, it's set to pulse, even though I think it just works on its own, but I usually like to set this to ignored. And leaving it at its current tick rate is probably fine. If you start to notice like an abundance of items or XP just staying there consistently, then you might want to modify the amount of ticks that things take to operate. I think we're just about ready. We have our chest here, which just has a couple of upgrade slots and quite a bit of storage, but we are going to have to worry about some upgrades here in a moment, and I'll show you this once it actually gets up and running. So if we were to ignite this, we have to be prepared to shut this just in case things do spawn, but this should prevent mobs from spawning. And right there, we now have dreadful dirt after placing in our egg. Okay, so perfect. That part is done. Now all we have to do is close this up and then turn the light off. Yes. That should technically start spawning mobs. And notice, by the way, this light is not affecting anything because it's only doing client light. This is what it would look like. But look how cool it looks having client light inside there. We can actually see the mobs spawning. But now for this to actually start functioning, let's go ahead and flip the lever, and that is going to start killing the mobs. Now, just in case you start to have problems with Endermen, what you can do is place an Ender inhibitor on here, and that'll just prevent Endermen from being able to teleport if they try. And yes, this is very loud, but what I want to do is create an ESM, or create a sound muffler barrier for this location. I can just set the anchor, and we now have it positioned in the world here, and I can go in and do like hurt, which is probably one of the loudest sounds, and just start to deafen everything specifically on this channel in the hurt. Gotta also get the death sounds, the witch's awful drink sound, and the slimy squish sounds. And I think that looks like a pretty cool mob farm. I love the fact that we have the ability to have the client light so we can actually see what's going on inside the farm. This is kind of cool. But this is also what I was meaning by the fact that this is an incredibly fast farm. Like, you only need the 3x3. If you make it any larger than this, you're just asking for lag. And already we've encountered our first problem, but is it a problem exactly? Not really. We're getting gems and all kinds of other cool things, which is exactly what we need for our next steps. So by hitting Control T, we can open up our Apotheosis menu, and it says right here, equip a common helmet and a common boot. This is the only thing that's requiring us to unlock the next tier, which is going to be Frontier. And we need to keep an eye out for that. For example, it just says to put on like a common helmet. And so we can keep an eye on if a helmet actually spawns in here. And I think these are technically common right there. And I think that has now unlocked our world tier Frontier, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. now we should start getting Apothic invaders that spawn. But for now, we've got to solve a major problem. We have a lot of items that are building up. So I'm going to shut the mob farm off for now. Yes, we can definitely shut that off by turning the light on inside and letting these guys basically get ripped up. Notice, by the way, all of the redstone and string and stuff we're getting. Oh, this is so good. Now we need to focus on item handling and the logistics. So for example, the void upgrade is going to be very helpful for this, allowing us to void specific things, but a lot of this we don't really want to void. We want to salvage. So this means salvaging table is the next thing on our list, which requires a couple of gem dust. And thankfully we've already gotten a couple of gems, which is perfect. We can toss them down and drop an anvil right on them, and that gets us the gem dust that's needed. So perfect salvaging table got. But now something else we can also make is a gem case, which is fairly new to Apotheosis and kind of awesome that we now have a way of sorting this, because the ways that I've done it in the past were pretty janky. I do, however, need to jump quickly here, grab a little bit of basalt, and then make my way back home. Yeah. Why is the Nether so scary? That now gives me everything to make the gem case. Oh boy. So now for the fun part, getting to use the pipes mod and actually send items around, for example, into our gem case, and also send items into our salvaging table, and also routing items back. So how is this going to work? Well, first of all, we have an item pipe, and if we put in an advanced pipe upgrade in here, we get some options for our distribution. And what we really want to do is make sure this is set to nearest first. And this means that it's going to pull items out of this inventory here, and the first inventory that it has access to is going to be the first thing it tries to send items to. For example, it's trying to send gems into the gem case. That's the only thing that can go inside the gem case is gems. And with that being the first inventory that it has access to, well, we don't really have to worry about too much filtering because this is just going to automatically send it into here first. Next on the list is going to be the salvaging table. So anything that can be salvaged, I probably want to salvage it for right now. And by doing this, if I place this here, it should automatically pull out anything that is salvageable and place it into the salvaging table. Or at least so I hope. By the way, while I was working on this, yeah, I could grab a bucket of pufferfish. Yeah, that would be kind of nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I thought I was going crazy here, but yeah, I forgot to place the pipe in here. And so this is automatically now pulling out any salvageable gear, and it is doing the salvaging automatically, in which we can then just loop this around using our wrench to pull this out, making sure that this can send in. And this should be able to take everything that is coming out of here and pull it out. Yes, you can see it is slowly pulling the items out, and we don't even need this to be very fast. At most, I would say just a regular pipe upgrade, but keep in mind, this can get kind of laggy inside of servers and stuff if you are using the pipe mod with pipe upgrades. So just, yeah, use them sparingly, or don't. I'm not your mom. But this is already starting to look really, really nice. We have a lot of items that are building up in here and everything is looking good, but mechanism gear still will generate in here. And so this is where we need the advanced void upgrade. And inside of this void upgrade, I am going to set this to match mod. And then I just need to place an item, for example, our sword from this mod in here, and that will void it. Also, quivers I want to void. This is going to void anything from supplementaries. Now, I'm also going to want another void upgrade in here, and this one is going to be more for specific items. I'm just going to leave this to match like very specific items. For example, getting rid of these random potions that are going to show up. And also we might want to get rid of several other things like potentially arrows when they start to become a lot. But with that in place, we can basically turn this on and we have no problems doing so. So I can turn the light back off, let the mobs start spawning again, and let this start filling back up. And we're going to start to see iron, gold we should be generating from here, eventually generating even diamonds inside of this, surprisingly. Yeah, there's a lot, which is going to lead me to even more upgrades. For example, upgrading this to gold so we have even more space, but primarily for the upgrade slots. I don't even need it for the excess slots. I think for now, the only other upgrade I can put in here, just because I'm limited on resources, is going to be a stack upgrade. I can only go up to tier 2 for now, which is going to give me 256 storage per individual slot. But I mean, this gets kind of wild. I mean, it will go up quite a bit as we start to move on. Now, also, once we get even more resources, I can add some upgrades into here, which will also make our looting even better and also make them die faster. But as of right now, this is the basics of a mob farm. And don't forget, whenever you upgrade, to activate a particular tier. For example, I needed to make sure that the frontier was activated, and now we should start getting better rewards. And this, for example, an Apothic boss, which is something that we actually need to take out. So because it's here, what I can do is I can start to take these mobs out, getting it low, and then taking it out myself while it's inside the mob farm, which is something that will satisfy that quest line for Apotheosis. Anything to make that go higher is going to be better. And perfect. An invader is now down. And you can see right here, we've now slain the Apothic invader, which is perfect. By the way, I wouldn't worry about the spiders building up. They will despawn as we move around, but eventually when we upgrade this, they'll end up being killed faster than they can actually climb up. Now with the beautiful mob farm up and running, and we're getting Apotheosis things, it now means spawner upgrades with Apotheosis. And I happen to know just the place to go collect some spawners. That would be this structure right here, which I do remember there being a spawner, yes, right here. And there's also a spawner up here. And with our Silk Touch, we can collect these things. Now, I'm pretty scared to set this off, but what we're going to need to do is place some TNT next to it and set that TNT off. And I want to step back, way back, because it's going to set this, oh my goodness, in motion. There are skeletons everywhere right now. But that should have dropped, chains, which are down here, and also, well, spawned a bunch of skeletons. I just want to grab those. How many did we get, by the way? 57. That is not bad at all. But that is exactly how you get these chains. This is such a goofy thing. I kind of want to set another one off, like, just because it's just really fun to do. We'll set that one. I'm going to step back so we can get a better view of it. Oh boy, definitely be out of its range. And it just blows up and spawns all of these skeletons. And which I can just walk up and grab my chains. That's glorious. And these chains actually are spread all over the place. They're so concerned about the daylight. They're not even bothering me. Now with all of this, we should be able to calculate our spawner a little bit. By default, this is a regular spawner, so I do want to reduce its range from 4 blocks to maybe like 2 block range if possible. Definitely a 2 block range. I want to place it in the center top of the room so that way when I'm nearby, it can actually work. So I need to make some gem infused slate here, and this is just to make the regular spawner runes. And I think this is perfect. We really only need 1 of the runes to change the size. This is going to utilize pistons, and it's going to reduce by 2, which is kind of what we want. And I need to hold, I believe, quartz in my offhand to reduce the range. So instead of adding here, I am actually going to be reducing the spawner. So I place this in my offhand, and I place this down. When I place the spawner and click it with this, that is now a spawn range of 2. Kind of nice. And then if I want redstone control on here, I made a rune of control, and I think this is not too bad. This is pretty straightforward. So we'll click that on there, and now it's not going to be active. We can just leave it here because it's going to require a redstone signal. But I was looking at some other overall upgrades. This improves our mob spawner, which is kind of interesting by like changing its stats, allowing more entities to be around, its activation range to be increased to 32 blocks. And we can actually make this, I think. And this does require an egg, like a mob egg, out of any egg. And we can get eggs from anything. We can actually do this via a mob swab and everything. But actually, I ended up getting a parrot spawn egg, which was kind of nice. And I think I can just use the parrot spawn egg. But now inside here, I do have enough of the luminous to be able to make at least luminous tier. But it looks like we can upgrade these later on. To make this, I am going to need a little bit more gem dust, so I should be able to pull these out, I think, right? Yeah, I can just select here. This also allows you to force upgrade them. Oh, it's going to be so good. Drop this in. We'll get some salvage items out. That's perfect, and I think that's all I need. Because I need to make the sigil of socketing in order to craft this thing. So, final item right here. It's going to use that parrot spawn egg that I got from the quests. And we now have a Wayfarers spawn rune. My goodness, I can't read. Let's take this. Let's upgrade this bad boy. I clicked that on there, and now it reduced all of the stats. So it's like, has a much lower spawn delay. Like, it can spawn up to 10 blazes now. Entity count maximum around it is 18, I believe, and we already set the range in redstone control. And then the activation range is no longer 16, it's 32. Just make sure we pick it up with Silk Touch. This is ready to go. And so here's the plan. If I place it right here in the room, nothing should be bothered by it. And I place a lever in, close it up, and that will spawn regardless, because it's a blaze spawner. It'll spawn regardless of the light level. So we will have to control it with that redstone. But the fact that we have this blaze spawner in here is really nice, meaning like, well, we just need to be nearby. And this is just, it's just gonna work. Like, we now have blaze rods, and like, they'll just spawn too, like on top of all of our other mobs that can spawn in here. Like, they should also still continue to spawn like normal. I do believe, like, there's not enough mobs in here to prevent it from spawning. Yeah, look at that. And here I thought that upgrading mob spawners was going to be a lot harder. I kind of like this system, to be fair. You have to sacrifice some spawners in order to upgrade your spawners. That makes so much sense. And the higher tier stuff is going to require us to use Apotheosis a bit more, in which I do actually like its enchantment system and like its sort of mini game that kind of requires you to do a little bit of math calculation to get everything correct. But you know what? With all of this, getting the mob farm all set up, I think today was mighty successful. This farm alone will set me up in a position where we can build roughly whatever we want, get into any mod we want. It is honestly such a convenience to have this mod in the pack. Or should I say the assemblance of these mods in the pack. And of course, shout out to Mob Grinding Utils. That is one of my favorite mob spawning mods at this point. It is just so good. Later on down the road, we'll definitely get into more complex mob spawners. For example, things that, well, digitally spawn mobs. But for now, we'll stick with the basics. And soon I'll be able to start building my themage, actually start building several things. We're getting very close to that point, I think, to where we can actually start building out some infrastructure and getting some buildings sort of built, and start planning for what we're going to be doing next. And so if next is something that interests you, make sure you've clicked that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. And with that, it's now time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that huge thanks is going to go out to Twisted Pigeon. Thank you so much for your amazing support in choosing to support me over in the Discord, by becoming a Discord premium member, and supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. Thank you so very much. And with that, I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode. And as always, thanks for watching.